Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey, good evening everybody, Militia Man and Crew, and I'm just going to jump in, but first things first, grab a cup of coffee, Freedom Forge, try their tinctures, try all the stuff. It's great coffee, delicious. I've tried all of them, and I think they're fabulous, and check it out because their freedomforge.com site is amazing. I like their coffee, I like their integrity, and I like what they're about. Good evening everybody, Militia Man and Crew here. It's Thursday. I just got some bullet points that I want to go over, and I think you guys find out that, you know what, there has been a lot of positive information that's come out of Iraq, and a lot of credit should go to Shia al-Sudani, Taif Sami, and al-Awlaq. Right, we have lots of information and geopolitical information that's coming out, and the news is really back and forth. But the key part is that I like to focus on is the progress, and you know that I do like to go back into history and find information, etc. But the cool thing is within these bullet points tonight, look over the last 2.5 years, all of the above: Shia al-Sudani, Taif Sami, al-Awlaq. They have addressed long-standing structural issues and challenges. They've reduced oil dependency, and they've created financial stability, and they fostered sustainable growth. And we see that by the Arab League. We saw that by the IMF, the World Bank, the Bank of International Settlements, and et cetera, have all given approval. And even Iraq's government political side has given approvals. So we all know that. So ultimately, what have they been doing? They've been doing what they've been focused on: economic reforms. Firstly, look, the 3-year national budget that they talked about is the first of its ever kind, the tripartite budget. It's basically a cornerstone, what they call it. I'll call it a pillar. It's been what they've been doing to enable strategic and long-term financial planning. The budget has basically grown their GDP from about 5% in 2023 into a very nice 6% based off what? Now it's because of the non-oil revenue streams that they're getting. And who was talking about that? The United States Treasury was. So what else have they done? They've done economic diversification. Well, by the fact that they prioritized the non-oil revenue streams, it accounts for, which is what, maybe in the past about 10% of the oil. Well, that's increased significantly. I think you guys can find that out, and you can Google it, but you'll know that I'm right. But they've actually, their focus on the private sector has basically stimulated job growth. They've increased those non-oil revenue streams. They've done a massive amount of information to support that, and given the information that shows that they've done all these things. But look, the non-oil activity that's been happening over the last 2 years is increased significantly. The private sector has shown that they've increased that specifically. And if you remember back, there was a white paper that was done in 2020, and basically who was involved? It was the G7, the IMF, the World Bank. All of those people were involved. And what were they talking about? They were talking about financial reforms. And under the governorship of the al-Awlaq, what did he do? He prioritized comprehensive banking. Basically, all his comprehensive banking initiatives were to what? Align to international standards. Here's a brief snippet that says the financial inclusion has risen significantly. And what are they talking about? Financial inclusion, that means the citizens. It was at 10% 2 years ago, which is now over 40%. And who made comment on that? The World Bank and the IMF. Okay, so basically what has been a driver of that? Digital payment initiatives. That's the key thing. They've updated e-commerce. They've updated their views on, or they've changed their views on a reliance on cash, and they've been enhancing transparency in all their transactions. And we saw stuff like that today. They're actually, their e-government, their financial inclusion they've talked about. The focus is trying to get the country to readiness. And I think that what we've seen, and we're going to see in some of these bullet points, is they've done these measures. And that's the key point, is that we talked about Iraq's being ready. And so we're looking forward to, at the end of the day, when they do have integration into the international financial system. So one of the components that is really a big thing that needed to be done, and that was restructuring of the state-owned banks. And we saw evidence of that's what they're working with. E2, Ernst & Young, Oliver Wyman, all of those big institutions have been working with it. And what are they doing? They've basically worked towards modernization of their state-owned banks, the Rashid Bank, the Rafidane Bank, and I think they said 7 other banks even. So what is that all about? Well, they've been working on countering anti-money laundering laws. Okay, they've been talking about counterterrorism financing. They've been reducing all that. So basically, what has the CBI done? The CBI has aligned themselves with those global standards from the FATF to what? Reduce illicit financial transactions, countering money laundering laws, etc. What else have they done? They opened, remember, the Treasury single account, the TSA. And what is that about? Well, Tafe Sammy, she's advanced enough reforms to strengthen the public financial management, including things to establish government deposits and improve fiscal transparency. I think that's something the Kurds have a real big problem with, is fiscal transparency. And we saw an article about that today as well. So in other words, some of the UN issues they've adopted. And what was that? The Escada system. We talked about that. The borders, we've seen that. We've seen the TIR's information coming out. International transport, things of that nature is phenomenal. So what else have they done? They've controlled inflation. They've had exchange rate stability. So look, their inflation rate was about 4% in what, 2023, and now it's at 2.5%. Key components that have been taken care of. And who announced that? The governor of the Central Bank of Iraq, Al. He did a good job. He's done a wonderful job. They talk about the relationship between the SWIFT compliance. Today we see an article about Syria getting accepted back within a short period of time with the SWIFT program. But the interesting thing is they say within 2 weeks they're going to have that taken care of, the SWIFT, entering back into it and being accepted back into the SWIFT system for international trade. But interestingly enough, they're going to talk about opening the borders in Syria this weekend as of Saturday. So they also talk about liquidity management improvements. They talk about international collaboration and recognition. Okay, they talk about who was involved, recognition. Well, we all know Sadani, under his watch, they dealt with who? The IMF, the World Bank, the European Bank of Reconstruction. They talk about the technical assistance that they've had, all that approval, all that support they've had from all those different entities. It's phenomenal stuff, you guys. It's really kind of cool. They go on to say that who else? The G7 was involved, the European Union. They keep adding in IMF, World Bank, the U.S. Treasury. They go on and say the digitalization and the financial inclusion. Again, the digital payments. Iraq they got challenges, of course they do. But again, in rural areas, but the bottom line is the urban areas are pretty much have pretty well been saturated, which is a good thing. At the end of the day, they have the contributions that those three that I've talked about. Tafe Sammy, I talked about Mohammed Shia al-Sudani. He's done a stellar job. Iraq, central bank governor, a stellar job. Here, basically, what has she done? Finance Minister Tafe Sammy. Since 2022, she has focused on strengthening public-private financial management. She's dealt with modernization of the Escada system, and she's also called for the reduction of oil dependency, and we see that with the non-oil revenues. And then we see that she's out talking again today about, hey, Kurdistan, show us the money in the non-oil revenues. And then there's Al. He talks about since January 2023 when he came into into place again. That's basically what has he been doing. He's been a pivotal role in the stabilization of the dinar. The dinar has been at what, 14 something, and then went to 1360, but for this whole time frame it's been at 1310, so it's stable. And then he goes on and they've been controlling inflation. Not only controlling it, they've been reducing it. And what else has he been involved in? Of course, modernizing the banking sector and in compliance with international standards. Basically, the position that Iraq is in, they're basically in a position for what? What we've been talking about, global integration. Okay, and so some of the challenges that they may face, well, we all know that some of the issues are volatile oil prices. We know that there's unrest, and there's a lot of negative news out about surrounding countries. One of the big ones is the neighbor in the nuclear deal. But ultimately, what are they talking about? Everybody in the Middle East is looking for doing trade through the Development Road Project. And I would suggest that, in my view, we have to be very, very careful about the news that we read, because there's countering information. Today, there was probably 3 or 4 articles that were specifically scary for a lot of people. Sadly, that's what they do. But ultimately, there was an article in Patreon that supports that what's really actually happening is Iraq truly does have security and stability. And just because a nation or another nation are having some serious dialogue doesn't necessarily mean that is a hindrance to the progression of what is taking place, because it's a lot bigger than just 2 countries. It's a global issue, in my view. So anyway, the most positive attributes of what I've been talking about is, listen, they had the 3-year budget. That's a main thing. Modernizing the banking sector. They've got control of the inflation. They've advanced digital payment systems. They've had international collaboration, and also these efforts that they've done have driven the leadership to be able to bring confidence, and they have had coordination with some of the largest entities, financial entities in the world, and the confidence of the region, confidence of the largest financial institutions in the world, confidence in the political side of things. And basically, what are they looking forward to? Is they're looking forward to economic stability, looking for growth and significant progress as they go in the financial inclusion of the people, to keep going out into the urban areas, and major focus, the non-oil sector development. Those are the items, those are the bullet points, those are what I had to say to you guys tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys understand it. And I know it's quick, fast, and furious, but the cool part about it is those are some of the most positive things that have happened in brief for what we're invested in. We're invested in the Iraqi dinar. We have a relationship with that country in the sense of investment. I'm not a financial advisor by any stretch of the means, but think about it for a minute. These guys have been where they were based off oil in the past, and they were at a significant era exchange rate, and today they're at 1310, but they've made 20 years go by with this sub-zero stock, if you will. But if you see the article today talking about the amount of money that the ISX is starting to generate through dividends, you can see that the interest is coming in, and their stock market is showing that. And Iraq's exchange rate is at a 000 stock, 0.007, 0.0069, whatever that might be at the given time. But keep in mind, when that project to delete the zeros changes the value of the exchange rate, they redenominate and they add a real effective exchange rate. That's what I'm looking for. I hope that you guys understand that. But the positivity that they bring to us today is phenomenal. I really believe that. So enjoy. Thank you very much. And again, if you like our content, hit the subscribe button. And thank you again for all your help keeping this channel moving. Thank you. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content, subscribe to the channel, or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much appreciated. Thank you so much, and have a great day.